Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, Sejohn.
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I don't know why I went into a voice. I don't know. We don't do funny voices. I
We
don't know why
don't
I
do
did
funny
that.
voices. This is a philosophical look at the positive things in our lives. The
Oh
Say
God.
Report.
Oh
La
God.
la la. And I'd like to start this episode of the Say Report with something that I'm starting. I mean, we've sort of done it before, but this is official. This is now like an official thing, and
Oh
it's the
God.
Say vocabulary. And I'm introducing a phrase. This will happen, whenever a phrase strikes me. But the phrase of the day is Sejohn's Gambit. Sejohn, would you like to take a guess as to what a Sejohn's
Oh
Gambit is?
no, I have no idea. I'm afraid. I am afeared. I am afeared.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory. I saw Venom last week.
Oh man.
I was one of the $70 million that Venom made.
Are you part of the odd 90% user rating that it's currently holding pretty steadily?
I don't believe in Rotten Tomatoes. Not that I don't believe in it. It definitely exists. I just don't use it.
Okay, honestly, it was just a way to ask if you liked the movie or not.
Oh,
I
I
was just
loved
trying
it.
to be cute.
I absolutely loved it.
Good. All right. All right.
It was very,
All right,
very
anyway.
good.
Good.
My question, though, is if I really... it checked so many Venom without Spider-Man boxes for me that it was crazy. Like, the very opening shot plugged in 3 things that I'm like, if these things aren't in the movie, I'm going to be pissed. And then all of them occurred. So
Oh, okay.
Venom gets at least the Devon Decker seal of approval. But I thought of something, and that is the scene that is literally playing in every trailer that is like half Venom, half Eddie Brock face talking.
Yeah. Right.
Literally the last shot of the film.
Oh God.
And this is where I realized, and I sat there in the theater and I'm like, I should send myself a note or a text or something to recall this. Didn't do any of that. Came to me this morning that I wanted to do it again.
Came to you in a dream.
Well, not in a dream. I was awake and in bed, trying to gird myself for the day, the harsh Columbus day. And I thought, oh yeah, Sejohn Gambit. I need to start the episode with Sejohn's Gambit. And a Sejohn's Gambit is a marketing term where you use the very last scene in a film to market your movie.
Okay.
So it happens a lot.
Yes, I'm curious to know why it's named after me, but also really appreciate that it is.
Oh, it's named after you for 2 reasons. One, I don't know if we've ever told the full Enchanted story on the show.
Okay.
But
keep
okay,
going.
so years ago there was a movie that came out called Enchanted, starred the lovely Amy Adams, and
And the
McDreamy.
lovely Patrick Dempsey. Let's be
Dempsey.
honest.
I could not think of his last name. Thanks for
Patrick
the
Dempsey.
save.
Oh yeah.
It also had Susan Sarandon and Cyclops, whose name
Yeah,
I
James Marsden.
James Marsden. And Idina Menzel.
And Idina Menzel. That's right.
Hell of
Yeah.
a cast. Hell of a cast. I love Enchanted. One of my favorites. But Sejohn and I owed Sejohn a little bit of money. And he bet me my entire debt to him that movie ended, spoilers for Enchanted, with Amy Adams getting back together with James Marsden. And that Patrick Dempsey would act as a sort of interspatial intermediary, making sure that their love came together so that all would be right in their world and thus in our world.
Right.
Sejohn was convinced that this was going to be the end of Enchanted. And I don't know, I saw the same trailers as him, and I could tell, like, pretty much from moment one, that Patrick Dempsey was going to end up with Amy Adams. I did not see that Idina Menzel would go back to Fairy Tale Land with James Marsden. Kind of bothers me on a dogmatic level, but let's never bring that up again.
That she does that, or that you didn't see it coming?
No, that she does that. That like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to give up my entire universe to be with this knucklehead. I'm
Yeah, you
Idina
don't have an
Menzel!
issue with Amy Adams doing the same, or
No,
you do?
because the real world is way better than Fairy Tale World.
Okay, all right.
Well, it is. No, like for a woman as set out in Enchanted, right? The rights of females in the fairy tale world of Enchanted are terrible. They basically have no rights. Susan Sarandon as the evil queen's whole thing is she needs to control who she needs to get rid of her son because if he marries Amy Adams, then she will have no power anymore. Like, she's somehow locked into power. And Amy Adams will basically just be the trophy bride to this person so that he can become king. Like, there's no rights for any women in that universe. And Idina Menzel, who is represented as a strong female character in the real world, right? So strong that that's sort of where she clashes heads with Patrick Dempsey. She, like, willingly goes to this universe where she will have no rights whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, no. I get it. It's just...
It's like Dogomatic, where she's like she gives up her humanity to be a dog, to live a shortened existence. Here's the thing. When those dogs with human minds inside of them die, what happens to the dogs in human bodies?
Oh, God.
Do they just get committed and then become a drain on the mental health, like, institutes of I don't know. I think they live in, like, San Francisco. That seems like the kind of place that movie would take place. I'm just saying, it's like, I have always been a person who has been bothered with the next step. Like, I have always thought of the next step. Like, everything's happy now, but literally there's a tomorrow. The world doesn't end with you happy. An asteroid doesn't slam into the earth at the end of every Disney movie.
Well, and I think that is a natural place for people in our generation to be, right? We've always been fans of the happily never after story, right? Like we're big. I mean, look at Wicked and like everything that Maguire does, right? The idea of us wanting to know where things come from and where things go, like that's like Gregor Maguire's whole shtick is writing those kinds of stories. Yeah, so like thinking of where, like that cynical side of you that's just like, this is great as a happy ending, but like, what does this world look like now? There's a lot of movies where really, if you take a step back and think about things like, oh, it's great that like this story ended happily, but like other than that, the world's pretty shit now, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, so like Amy Adams, she doesn't have a social security card. She can never hold down a job. How are they going to get married? How are they going to get a wedding license? Yeah. Is it going to be common law? But this has nothing to do with Sejohn's Gambit. What has to do with Sejohn's Gambit is Sejohn watched that movie, the trailer for that film, and because of how he is trained, that is why he thought the ending would be Amy Adams gets together with her prince, as portrayed by James Marsden.
Right.
And so that's just how Sejohn has always witnessed trailers. Because there is a scene where they get back together in the real world, and he was, through no fault of his own, through just conditioning, through nurture, was led to believe that scene, finale of the film.
Okay.
Okay.
There's also something though to what you were just talking about, that idea of thinking about what next
of normality
in my mind,
being restored. Yes.
And in my mind, the idea of her leaving her world just didn't make sense. Like the idea of somebody completely leaving their world just didn't even register with me as even as a possibility. But that is then only like solidified by the imagery in the trailer of the two of them, and me just thinking, okay, like that's the story, right? Because they're just told me the whole story in a trailer, because they notoriously do that with kids' movies anyway, right?
Right. Plus, I mean, all of that has nothing to do with why it's called the Sejohn's Gambit. It's just an example of when you fell for your own gambit. Even though that wasn't the case in Enchanted, and it's why Enchanted is such a lovely movie. The second reason why it's called the Sejohn's Gambit is because of a little film called Expendables 3. Now, we've talked about this before here, but it's I'll give a brief summation. We saw Hercules starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Right. Ian McShane. And beforehand, there was a trailer for Expendables 3, and Sejohn loudly proclaimed, that is the last scene in the movie during the trailer. Sejohn was not wrong, to the point that when I saw Expendables 3 and he was proven correctly, I contacted him in every way I had possible to let him know, you son of a bitch, you were right.
Well, yeah, man. I can't. Oh God, it's this horrible thing that happens more and more and more every day. I mean, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had that same thing with the fight with Rhino, with Rhino.
Yes,
and that actually isn't until the last moment of the film.
Exactly. Your brother is actually the reason why this all came through. because he brought that up that he had never seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, and so he thought that the Rhino played a significant part in the film, but then ended up being the last moment of it. And I'm like, so this is a Sarowick thing.
He's the bookend of that film. Yeah.
So this is a distinctly Sarowick thing, but it was introduced to me via Sejohn, and I had literally just lived it with Venom. So that is why your new say vocab word is Sejohn's Gambit.
Nice.
La la.
Well,
la.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you really enjoyed Venom, and I'm glad that it's a blast. I have not seen it yet because there's like a solid group of people out here by me that like are excited about it. We just haven't been able to find the time to go together, you know? Like more than I think even when I saw Infinity War, I was able to I was able to like scramble and get like 3 or 4 friends to go see that with me, right? But it was actually kind of hard. Like it's we're getting older. Like we don't have every night off. We don't, you know what I mean? Like we can't just like we have to plan to go to the movies now. I'm getting to that point in my life. I'm terrified.
Which is why Thursday nights 7 p.m. I'm at the theater.
But it's been really convenient for me to have the tastes that you and I share, where we are kind of sometimes the only ones that are into a thing, or you know what I mean? Because I don't have to worry about getting 6 schedules together if I want to go see a crappy movie, because I'm the only one that wants to see the crappy movie. So I'll just go on my own, fine, right? But this is the first time that I have actually been legitimately trying to figure out a night to go see the premiere of a film, and I've got to like figure out what 6 or 7 people are up to like get it all together, because there's actually a ton of people talking about this movie that are like excited, like in a fun way. Not that they think that it's going to be like the Oscar-worthy like Marvel film finally, but they feel like this is actually going to be like a fun one to go see, and I'm blown away because I just didn't think that Venom had that cachet with non-readers. You know what I mean? With non-comics people. It's bizarre. It's awesome.
And again, that is where my line is totally drawn, and Dale is my only proof of this. I unfortunately have someone from both sides of it, and one of them thought the film was garbage. Hi, Jeff. And one of them loved it. Hi, Dale. But both of them have zero Venom knowledge.
Okay.
Like, they are not. Where like they're dropping words that I'm like, oh yeah, and they're introducing characters, and I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna happen because that character is there. And that excitement, I felt like no one else in the theater had the level of excitement that you just described as a reader of Venom comics.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it was enjoyable. But let's not talk anymore until you coordinate your 7 schedules.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I'm dealing with a bunch of Mormons.
7 schedules for 7 symbiotes over here.
Nice. Yeah, man. I've been kind of doing. It's really cool that you get to see Venom, because I decided. Me and the family decided this year that we're gonna do our 25 movies of Christmas thing. That we're gonna do a trial run of doing something like that for Halloween this year.
Oh, cool! So you're becoming more and more like Fox Family.
we're not.
I just mugged for the camera. There's no camera.
Don't worry, we could all feel it. There's so we don't want to go whole hog into it yet. We're not doing the whole posting thing like we did with Christmas last year. Anybody that follows Say Report knows that we tried to do a movie every day for the 25 days of Christmas stuff. And so what we decided this year is we're just going to do one a week, Halloween oriented. Halloween week, we're probably going to do a bunch anyway, because we sit around and watch Halloween movies all day, Halloween night and stuff. But we wanted to like just see what we could do, because I don't know, it just felt like Halloween's not really a month that really gets a lot of dedicated films. But that's not true, actually. We've noticed as we're sitting down, we could very easily fill a month. I think that we wouldn't be able to do like a rotating cast of movies like we can with Christmas. Like we've done the Christmas movie thing 2-3 years in a row, and like we wouldn't have to repeat. We do because we like certain ones, but we don't have to. Like there's tons of great Christmas movies out there, and more being made every day. Halloween, I think we would probably have a pretty set, with maybe 1 or 2 changing every year. But we could do a good 30 days. That's the other thing, is Halloween would be a solid 31 days of the month, whereas Christmas we get a reprieve. We get about a week's reprieve because it's only 25.
And that's when you watch 7 Kwanzaa movies, right?
No, Boxing Day films.
Oh.
So we those are just Canadian-made Christmas films for anybody who's wondering. but we started last week, and we started simple. We decided to go with one of the Hotel Transylvania films. We got our heads together and tried to figure out which ones we had all seen and which ones we hadn't. And of course, I've seen all but the last one, and I'm so disappointed I haven't seen three yet, but I will soon enough. But including up until I've seen the majority of the Netflix television show as well. So like I was like, I'm not the judge for this. Wherever you guys want to start, we can start. And they decided they wanted to start on two. Because it was like one that we had all kind of seen, but it came out so long ago, and it's not a very memorable film, to be entirely honest. I will say, though, in the moment, it's enjoyable as hell.
It's enjoyable as hell. It's
Yeah,
super
yeah,
fun.
yeah. But like, there's not a it's a very, very, it's almost like a bunch of skits. It's a very, very skit-oriented comedy, kids comedy. You know, like every scene, especially because with the Hotel Transylvania 2, for anybody that hasn't seen it, is the monsters, and you know she marries a human in the first movie, so this is them having a kid, and so this is the kid like raising the kid movie. And then I'm sure that I haven't seen three yet, but I'm sure a lot of that is focusing on them, like him dealing with being a grandfather and him dealing with getting old, and you know, that sort of stuff.
Spoilers, it's not.
Right, isn't it like about him like trying to realize that he's got to move on from like his wife and stuff? Like he's getting to a point where he needs to stop worrying about like his daughter and just like focus on him.
That's kind of what all the films are about. All the films are about that his daughter's grown up and he needs to move on.
He needs to deal with her growing up, but there never seems to be a moment where he learns his lesson that he needs to back off, to the point where two actually gets a little weird in moments, like the way that he treats his now grown daughter who has a child in her arms. And the first like 30 minutes of that movie is like a montage of 5 years, so that you can see like the birth of the kid and them raising the kid, and then eventually the kid gets to be that like 5-year-old age that he is when for the rest of the film, where he's trying to figure out if he's a monster or a human, that sort of stuff, right? So there's like this montage of him just being super creepy with his daughter. It's like creepy in a way that it shouldn't be, that it didn't mean to be. So there's some weirdness there. But but overall, like you get these like really good beats, these really good moments, and there's still a lot of really good story there. It just isn't very, it's not nearly as cohesive as the first film is, and like I said, I haven't seen the third, so I don't know. I wonder if it's because it's DreamWorks, right? Isn't that one of the DreamWorks films?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. DreamWorks is always hit or miss on their sequels, because there's those franchises where they just kind of want to rake the money in, but then there's also those franchises like Kung Fu Panda is really good counterexample to this. Like they care about that story, and they take their time between the movies, and then like it shows, because the Kung Fu Panda 2 is, I think, by and far still the best.
Probably the best one of the series.
Yeah, but that being said, like the wait for Kung Fu Panda 3 was like totally worth it, because it's a beautiful story, and it's like and it looks gorgeous, and it makes sense every sense. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like a kid's sequel, right? But there's, you know, I DreamWorks has their moments. They've got some weird ones out there that I won't like defend. Although funny enough, at work the last couple of days, we have a TV with satellite in the break room, and somebody's been putting on FX all weekend, and it's just been all sorts of kids movies. And Home was on the other day, and listening to a bunch of like 40 and 50-year-old people like trying to figure out that film that they came into 30 minutes into and are only going to get to watch 15 minutes of, like, was the funniest conversation I've ever heard. They were so angry at it by the time their break was over that I think that they felt like they had wasted their break, and like were pissed at it for that. It's weird.
Yeah, Home's a weird movie. That's
weird.
That's my response about that.
Home is a weird movie, but it also comes from a very weird like series of kids books. Like it's very much meant for like the G movie crowd. Like it's not even like a PG like crowd film. Although I think it's a PG movie because there's like fart jokes in it, right? I'm not sure about that. I'd have to double check.
Can't have fart jokes in a G film.
I don't quite know where the line is for a G movie nowadays. I think the only G movie that I've ever seen, like, honestly sat down and watched, was when we went to go see Mr. Bean's Holiday.
All I was thinking. All that was going through my head is Mr. Bean's Holiday. But I'm like,
only one.
But I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a fart joke in there because
there must be, right? Because it's Mr. Bean. But yeah, so we started with Hotel Transylvania. Nice to ease into this, right? But I like that you've kind of participated in this by going to see Venom, the spooky Marvel movie.
I don't mean to be rude, but if I have any say in what you guys watch, Fun Size.
Oh, I love Fun Size.
So
Fun
good.
Size is Nickelodeon, right?
Fun Size is Nickelodeon. It's
Yeah, yeah,
Tori
yeah.
Vega, and then like she's just there to sell tickets because then she disappears, and it's
Yeah.
a weird Baby's Day Out sequel.
Well, it also very much reads as a as oh God, what was the PG-13 not quite American Pie movie, Dirty Deeds, that came out. It like reads like it's trying to feed that crowd of like, we know that when you were 13 you were sneaking looks at American Pie, but we want you to watch this whole movie, so, and give us your money, because like American Pie you probably had to sneak into. So they make like a PG-13 style one of those. Fun Size seems to fit into that range
Yeah,
of
Fun
like,
Size is sort of like the kiddie version of The Hangover
or
in a
yeah, yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
ways.
Yeah. Or it's a very much like a National Lampoon. Like you could definitely see that if it was an R-rated, it would be like National Lampoon's Fun Size, right?
Oh, Jesus, you made me
um,
watch Dorm Days and Dorm Days 2.
Dorm Days
You're a
2 is
monster.
Dorm Days 2 is so good.
Dorm Days. We had a good time with Dorm Days 2.
Well, especially because then you went to go work on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I did. That happened. I did not use duct tape to secure a lamp because I learned from Dorm Days 2.
Oh man. But yeah, so we started our Hollow watching, that's what we're calling it right now.
Oh,
And it
I
was
hope
just
you
really cool.
workshop that a little bit.
Yeah, but you know, we've Hollow Witching, I don't know. Witchy watching, we'll get there. But I've got a couple of things in mind for the next few weeks. So, you know, if I can, I'm going to try and convince the family to watch Garfield and Friends, the Halloween
So
special.
good.
Like it's a
So
really,
good.
yeah, well, and we were gonna see it actually in theaters last week. This really awesome place out here called Broovies. It's basically like an Alamo Draft House. We were gonna go and see it because they were doing a special showing of it, but that mixed up with a bunch of the other holiday and Halloween stuff going on around here. We actually missed out on that for something else. But so I kind of want to go see it. Like I was actually looking forward to go and see Garfield Friends Halloween special. So maybe that'll be one that we see. If I can, I want to sneak something in like Hellboy or maybe oh, what's the Crimson Peak? Maybe we'll do that one because like a good
Crimson
Guillermo.
Peak is awesome. I
Yeah, really
actually
good.
think I saw Crimson Peak and Hotel Transylvania 2 in the same night.
That makes sense in a weird way. I'd go to that drive-in double feature. That's what yeah. Um, but that's what I've been up to for the last week. You know, besides that, just kind of starting up the new job. You know, and it was actually really funny. You texted me the other day a couple of pictures of your new collector's items there. Do you want to?
Yeah, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
Yeah, well, and the only
from
reason I'm
Rise
thinking
of
of
the
this
TMNT.
is that we are apparently there was a deal going on with Amazon with those things, and we've been sending out boxes, like a certain number of those got to go out in like TMNT branded boxes
Oh,
that are
that's
actually like,
cool.
yeah, they're super cool looking, and like you know what you're getting because when it comes to the door, it's delivered and Raph is on the cover, right? Like it was pretty awesome. We've been processing them at my new Amazon job all week, so it made me think because I was actually the day that I started was the day that you then sent me those when I got home, and I was like, perfect. I think maybe I sent you yours.
No, I bought mine at Target.
Nice.
No offense to Amazon. I'm sure they're a lovely company that will one day be our overlord and masters. And I, for
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
welcome our new
yeah.
Amazonian overlords.
Yeah, I'm still in that phase where I'm too scared to talk about them because I know they're listening everywhere.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, right. I can't believe you said what you said, Siege.
it
I'll
was a
have
thumbs
to
up.
edit all of that. but no, because the day that I sent them to you was Mega Man Day,
Oh.
and Mega Man Day happened, and that's because Mega Man 11 came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had taken that day off from work. The second they announced that was the release date for Mega Man 11, I went right to my boss and said, I need the 2nd of October off. Don't worry about it. And he said, I'm not. It's April.
It's a secret.
You have October 2nd off. And we went and we tried to get the game. Now, getting the game was the hardest part of Mega Man Day.
Oh, you didn't want to go digital?
No, I didn't want to go digital for a couple of reasons. One, I was getting it on the Switch, and I don't love getting digital games on the Switch, only because it is one system per digital, and that is so backwards in the
Yeah.
world where we have PlayStation 4, where
Yeah.
it will work on any of my PlayStation 4s, where we have Xbox, where even Microsoft is like, yeah, as long as you're logged into your account, you can access what you've paid for from us.
Well, and it's like, what are you really stopping? Because if I buy a physical copy instead, then then I can do what I want to do. Like they're not
Exactly.
stopping you from doing that in any way.
Yeah,
It's not like
that's why you get the physical copies. That is why
right.
I get physical copies of Switch games, because Dale and I can share it. Of course, we got 2 copies of Mega Man 11 physical that day. But that's because, like, if I'm going to get a digital copy, and there's a really good chance I will, I'll get it on PS4
Yeah.
because then we can both be playing it. But you know, so we call up GameStop and ask if they're doing a pre-release, and they're like, "Yeah, 9 o'clock." So we get down there to do that, and they're like, "Oh, you can only buy it if you have a pre-order." And I'm like, "Oh, have all the pre-orders been picked up?" Yes. Do you have extra? Yes. Can I buy one? No. You have to come in tomorrow.
That's stupid.
And it's like, oh, okay. I want to give you money, but I'm not going to give you money now. Thanks for playing. So then midnight rolls around and we go to the 24-hour Walmart, and we're both exhausted, right? Dale and I are both tired. But the problem is that we feel like we have to go with 2 people because in this modern world of video games, a lot of the time it's one per customer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
need that second body if you're trying to get 2 copies of something, which, like, I feel real bad for, like, the single mothers and the single parents overall who are like, yeah, I'm trying to get copies of this game for my kids. And it's like, yeah, I can only sell you one. Like the Shovel Knight amiibo was like that. It was one per customer.
Right,
and even
right.
though there were 2 of us there, they're like, yeah, you can't buy 2. And I'm like, we're 2 customers, though. What are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, it has to be 2 separate transactions. And I'm like, that's fine. Whatever you have to do, that I can walk out of here with 2 Shovel Knight amiibo.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Because
Yeah, I know, man.
I want to give you money, and it's like Nintendo's like, you need 2 if you want to use Custom Night as both characters, and it's like, yeah, well, both of us want to use Custom Night, right? Like,
Yeah, well, and you know, it's just that gross thing that like collectors abused. You know, there's a certain we've talked about this before, but there's a certain sect of the collecting, you know, world that does not that is just not cool about it, and it really screwed everybody else. But essentially, they have to do that because there's guys that'll go out there and drop $300 on every copy that Walmart has, and then it screws people that really want to just fans that want to buy the game and play it out of it because this guy wants to sell a copy on eBay 3 months from now for $200.
exactly.
Right.
So, but we go to Walmart, the 2 of us, both very tired, and we finally get someone in electronics because they're on a skeleton crew at night, which makes sense. It's how they can afford to be open 24 hours. And they go in the back and say, we can't find it. And if it came out today, it's probably not going to be out on the shelf till the afternoon. And we're like, but we're here now, and it's back there, right? Like, no, sorry. So we leave. We leave Walmart. Again, disappointed because we want to give you money for a product that you definitely have, but you won't do this. So we sleep and we wake up and we're like, we'll go to Target when Target opens at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we've checked online, and Target's a real mensch, and it says that it has 4 copies in stock at the Warwick location.
All right.
So we go, and we get there, and we talk to the guy in electronics, and he's like, yeah, hold on, let me check. And he checks on his little handheld thing, and it shows 4 in stock. So he goes in the back, and we're waiting. At this time, I go over to toys, and I find my Ninja Turtle figures. I almost bought all of them. That was really hard not to do.
I'm
But
surprised
I sold off a bunch of my Ninja Turtle stuff in April. Because it's just like in a bin. It's not displayed. It's stuff that I just bought to have.
Right.
So like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm going to go back to what I used to do when I was a kid and money was tight. I'll buy Raphael's, and that'll be it. And Dale's like, cool, I'll buy Donatello's. So that's how we have those 2, right? They're the best characters anyway. I mean, to be fair, the argument that I've long posted about Ninja Turtles is everyone's favorite is either Raphael or Donatello, but everybody's second favorite is Michelangelo.
Yeah. Everybody's second favorite is Michelangelo.
I mean, like, there are some people who their favorite is Michelangelo, but they're few and far between. But you will not find someone who's like, yeah, but I also like Michelangelo. He's number 2 for me. And it makes sense. Why? He's the party guy, right? But maybe not the guy you'd want to room with.
Poor Leo.
Maybe you want to... I mean, I don't know. Leo's kind of a stick in the mud. I think that's why they've completely reinvented his character for Rise of the TMNT. So I'm waiting, and I find these figures, and the guy in electronics comes back and goes, it says we have them, but I can't find them. So
Meaning I'm saving one for me and my friends.
So Dale's like, could you check again, please? Because we're here and we'd like to buy it. So he goes and checks again, comes back, same story, and we leave. And, you know, we live in a golden age where there are 2 Targets in Warwick, Rhode Island for some reason. That's why Warwick is the 83rd most fun city in the United States, based on that poll I read. They got 2 Targets!
That's why they're so low, you mean?
That's why they're on the list at all, man. That's 2 Targets. They got to be in the 80s. I don't know, it's just 2 Targets. We got to give it to them. They got 2 malls. They got 2 Targets. These people know how to party.
Man, they live in Warwick. Let's give it to them.
So we call up the other Target to see if they have them. The guy on the phone says, yeah, it says we got 3 in stock. Can't find them. We're like, well, we're going to go there. We're going to go there, and we're going to put our foot down, and we're going to leave with these games. Luckily, the guy working in electronics was not the person who got on the phone. He saw us. We're both in Mega Man t-shirts. And we're like, we're looking for Mega Man 11 on the Switch. He's like, yeah, I can't believe it's not out on the shelf. Hold on. Goes back. He's back there for a while, but he comes back with the copies that we require. And then, like, the other guy working's like, oh, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I read some reviews, and I'm like, please don't spoil the game for me. I'm very excited to play it. I've avoided all press on this game. Today is Mega Man Day. I just got to get the game. And he's like, no, I understand. He's like, I think you're going to enjoy it, though. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That is very spoiler-free review of the game. That is not you telling me, oh, at the end of the game, it turns out Proto Man's the bad guy. Not true. I would have given a spoilers tag. I'm just saying. So, yeah, so we get the game eventually. But then our parents wanted to go to Hart's Turkey Farm in New Hampshire. And
Nice.
This is a day that Dale and I had taken off, and we're like, yeah, we can combine them together because we'll be playing on the Switch. We can sit in the back of the car and play video games while you drive us to New Hampshire, like the kings of modern industry that we are.
We're going up to our country house today.
Yes, playing Mega Man on the road. So
Father, please, can we stop for candy?
We did. We stopped for candy. But we got to Hart's Turkey Farm and we ate this beautiful meal. I was in the Wily stages by that time. Dale had a little difficulty with Mega Man 11, you know, and she's going through. You'll hear more about that on Sarah Port Jr., I bet. And then, you know that Hart's Turkey Farm is 2 miles from Fun Spot?
No, I did not know that. That's awesome.
So we're there and we're like, you know, we're 2 miles from Fun Spot. And it just feels so weird because there's not a lot of cross-pollination, I imagine, between those 2 groups of people.
I don't know, man. I've seen King of Kong, and I think that a few of those older dudes probably love themselves some Turkey Farm.
Right. And then my mother's like, you know what? We're up here. Let's go. Right? Because the other thing is, if we stop there for an hour, we avoid rush hour traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in, $20, 125 tokens, evenly split between us as best as possible. And we spent 90 minutes there playing old video games. Even
That's
my
sweet.
parents were getting in on it. Like, it was a fun time. So Mega Man Day was awesome. Top to bottom.
That is a fantastic celebration of Mega Man Day.
it was so fun.
I played it, by the way, not like all the way through.
You
at
played
all.
Mega Man 11? That's crazy.
I played Mega Man 11. Yeah. The Nintendo Switch. They put the entire Blockman level up.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Blockman.
Blockman.
He's not Blockman.
I'm glad. That's how I say it. I'm glad that you played it. Have you finished the stage?
The stage, yeah, I finished
Okay.
it. But before we go any further, I want to ask, like, so the only way that I was able to finish the stage, because I'll be entirely honest, I've played a ton of Mega Man in my life, and I don't know if I've ever completed a stage. At least more, like, I've completed stages. I don't know if I've ever completed stages twice.
I remember that time that we played Mega Man 3 together, like, while just talking over the internet. And
I had to
like,
concentrate so hard.
you were in the first level, and I'm like, yo, just cleared my 4th.
I'm not. Mega Man is not a game that clicks for me,
I
shall
get
we
that.
say?
I-
But have they? How long have they had the traverse? What's the level that below easy? What do they call it?
Oh, the
Like-
newcomer?
Yeah, newcomer, like the walk in the park one. How long have they had the newcomer difficulty option?
So
Is
they
that
had
something?
the easy option beginning with Mega Man 10, maybe Mega Man 9, but I know that 10 made a big deal about the difficulty levels.
Right.
Where they would fill in the gaps with these little like helper bots that you could just
Oh,
walk
man.
over.
Oh.
So I don't know. I haven't played Newcomer. The lowest I've gone is casual when I wanted
So
to just test my
I
D-pad.
will. So I'll say that newcomer doesn't sound like that because there's definitely still ways to die. It's still a
Yeah,
bullet
no, they
hell
they
mode.
didn't do that because people were very upset about that version where
Right,
like there were platforms over gaps where like platforming is kind of all Mega Man is. So if you get rid of
right.
that, like
What are you
what are we doing
doing?
here?
Yeah.
Um,
But I really love the idea of suits over his like just having a cool weapon thing. Like is like there was a lot of really cool stuff that like I haven't been deep in Mega Man for a while.
Almost
I used
everything
to.
that you've brought up is new to this game.
Yeah, no, that's that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Is this all feels like really cool like steps forward for the game, but I honestly don't know what I'm looking at that's brand new, what I'm looking at that's stuff that they've been trying to do, but it feels like they're really trying to get this one right. There's a lot of love for what Mega Man is clearly in the game, but there's also a lot of stuff to help guys like me that like love the idea of Mega Man and love watching people that are good at it play it, but like for the life of me, I cannot get that, right? So what's Dale trying on? Is she just trying on the hardest or is
She
she
tried on normal with me. Like I've only
yeah,
been on normal. I've never gone to superhero. I probably will eventually, but like
right.
I had other games to finish. Like we're gonna revisit Time Spinner as well in this
Mhm.
episode. So if you're looking forward to that, it's coming. Yeah, we both did it on normal, and she eventually dropped down to casual mode. And I'm like, do not feel bad about that. Do not feel bad about that because normal mode, I mean, like it really just feels to me. I mean, I don't have any proof of this. This is the stuff that I've noticed. Casual mode gives you more checkpoints,
Sure.
which is sort of how they're doing easier modes in games like this now,
Hmm.
where the harder the mode, the less time you'll get checkpoints. So like I imagine superhero will just be the one, as opposed to the three that you get in normal.
Right.
And casual seems to give you one like every two screens. So like it's fair, but it's not super easy. You also get more lives the lower you go down. Like normal mode, you start with 2, casual is 5, and I think newcomer is infinite, right?
Yeah, yeah, newcomer's pretty. Or I didn't know if that was just the demo, but for what I can see right now, newcomer is pretty much infinite because like I was definitely fucking it up left and right, but I was having a hell of a fun time while I was doing it.
Well, and I think that's the reason it's weird that they call it newcomer because really what it is just like modern gamer
Right.
because you're used to having infinite lives and you're
Hmm.
used to being able to try again. Where like Mega Man doesn't really give you that luxury.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very Meat Boy in its feeling. Like difficult and punishing, but it resets you pretty quickly, not too far away, and infinite lives. So like I don't feel bad that I'm not good at it yet. I finally feel like I can do that thing and get good. You know what I mean? Like that's always been my thing about Mega Man is I felt like the only real way to enjoy Mega Man is to just get good at it. And I've never been able to, it's the original Dark Souls, right? Like I've never been able to, and I've just never been able to do that because I just don't there's there was too much in my way. The idea that you could lose lives, the idea that you know restarting in places like 3, 4 screens back, like was always just too much for me to just get past. So like having that ability to essentially just play it like a Meat Boy game and just like blast through it until I figure out the pattern. And then once I do that, I'm totally happy going back to the beginning and doing it right, playing it all the way through as a level. But learning those key screen moments, those whatever the puzzle is in that particular moment of like jump, shoot, duck, right? Um, yeah, it feels really good for like a person that's not good at those games. And like I feel like that might be the highest praise that I personally can give a Mega Man game.
Yeah, that's actually really good to hear. I'm happy to hear it because I'm gonna shit on Mega Man 11 a little bit as someone who
Cool.
enjoyed it, and I'm really happy. I felt like the only detractor for a little bit, but that's because I was like stuck in a car all Tuesday having my detractor moments, and then I got back to the internet on Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah.
I might be the only one who feels this way though. So you've beaten Blockman's stage.
Hmm.
I feel like it was the worst stage to market. Like all the marketing kind of featured that stage, and
Yeah.
then for it to be the demo, because it is the least interesting of what that game has.
Oh, okay.
Like it gets everything after that stage is better. It's brighter, it's more vibrant, it feels more kinetic. Like, Blacksman Stage is slow. It is a slow level, and it is long, and it is grindy. And it's just like, ugh, if this is what the game's going to be, I don't know if I'm going to buy it. Like, I don't usually demo these games, but, like, the big thing is, and what I think Mega Man 11 was trying to do, and I think it succeeded, is that it saw that there was a market for this type of shit out in the world. And then Mighty Number 9 came and tried to fill that gap, and people hated it.
Right.
And that hatred is what gave us Mega Man 11.
Yeah,
I 100%
I don't think you're wrong.
that.
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think there's a lot of things going on in Mega Man 11 that they learned from watching what happened with Mighty Number 9, for sure.
Exactly. And I think that's why this game seems to have sold well. And if we get one of these like every 2 years, I don't think everybody complains. Like, we were getting them yearly. Mega Man 1 comes out 87, and then you get one 80, 88, 89, 90, 91, and 93. Like, and people were like, oh, it's just the same game over and over again. But that's what we wanted. Like, that's all it needs to be, is the same game over and over again.
Yes, and also like game development and like what we're able to do and the culture around that, like really kind of there was a bell curve to it, and like the end of the 90s is when it really took off and became like games taking their time, people actually like putting thought into things like story, and also voice acting became a huge thing, so you needed more time to get that done. Like, anybody that looks at the like late 80s early 90s and like thinks about that sort of stuff, this is like those came out too quickly, they were just putting the same games out, everything was branded this and branded that, everything's just a clone of another game. Well, yeah, because like it was the Wild West. It was just the beginning. Like there was so much you could do. There wasn't anything you couldn't, right? So like people were doing everything at once. So it's like this shotgun blast of attempts to like figure out what video gaming could and should be, right? And Mega Man, what's cool about Mega Man though is it really hasn't changed much. As much as they introduce innovative ways to do the things that you do in those games, what you're doing in that game, you're doing basically the same shit that you were doing in Mega Man 2, right? It's just that you're doing it with better controls, with a better understanding, with better, move sets essentially. But it's the same game, it was for sure.
Yeah, and that's the best part about it. Sorry. Yeah.
What are you doing?
The phone's ringing in the house, and I'm just trying to like not be bothered by it. So I do, and I hoped you would keep talking, but you didn't. Yeah, it's one of those things where
I was too caught off guard by your beautiful singing. I'm so
beautiful,
sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, and even though people said that those games were clones, I mean, the leap from Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 2 is huge. And then 3, they add the slide. 4, they add the charge beam. 5, they add the idea that there is stuff hidden in the levels to find. And 6, they add, like, every game built upon itself. Where people thought it was clones was the fact that, oh, you fight these guys and then you go fight more guy. It's like, yeah, but that's just called game design. Right? Like, no one's blaming Mario for being like, you run through a level and then you run through another level and then eventually there's a boss.
No, in fact, they got super pissed for a while because they weren't getting those 2D scrolling games anymore. Everything was basically become this Mario 64 clone. And it's like, okay. And they went back to basically making old school style Mario games because there was such a demand for it. Yeah, people don't know what they want. I mean, that's a key thing to remember about audiences.
That's the problem about humans.
Right. But I mean, and so like you look at something like Mega Man where there is this idea that they found something and they just went with it. It is rare because of the idea that as humans we are always wanting something different, something new, something more. Like video game developers are in this position where they have to figure out new and innovative ways every time to do something. So if you ever find that group that's willing to say, no, this is the kind of game we want to make and this is how this is going to work, that is few and far between in this industry. I mean, there have been attempts to modernize Mega Man. Haven't there been like weird...
Well, there's Mega Man X, which is also excellent. The problem, though, there is that bell curve that you just spoke of, where they tried to put this story into it, and like they tried to make it huge and like space operatic, and really it just came off as cheesy and forced. So yeah,
It's a hard line. It's a hard line
yeah.
to walk. Modernizing a classic game is a hard thing to do. Whereas, honestly, they lucked out because we've actually swung back around to wanting the classics. Like this idea of nostalgia that we want in everything is really benefiting these guys making these Mega Man games now because they can go back to doing what they've always wanted to do,
And
just keep doing these side-scrolling Mega Man games.
and they've really always been ahead of that curve a little bit. Because
Sure.
like look at when Mega Man 9 came out and they went back to it's basically Mega Man 2 expansion. Because it's
Right.
the same move set and the same basic items, and that game is great, and Mega Man 10 is great. But then, because of more discerning audiences, they're like, this is the same game. And it's like, yeah, but it's not, right? Like,
I think we should all take a moment as we sit here and talk about this little blue dude that we love so much and the way that he quickly speeds through levels. We remember another blue dude that has not been so lucky.
is that Sonic?
Sonic the Hedgehog. We poor Sonic, because he has tried every which way to be new and innovative and has never truly been able to find his way back to that like side-scrolling adventure that we all knew and love. He's just in a bad place now, right? Whereas, like, I think Mega Man's an IP that, like, you could say still has a lot of cachet in this world. Not just video gamers, like, know who Mega Man is, which is a cool thing. Whereas, like, with Sonic, that's true, but it's for bad reasons nowadays, right? Like, it's infamous. So, like I said, finding that group that wants to make Mega Man games and stick to it is like that's the coolest achievement of Mega Man in my mind. That they have always continuously found these artists and these game makers that really truly love what Mega Man always originally was and has really tried to just emulate that. Whereas like Sonic has just had these people constantly coming in trying to pump life back into him, and every time they accidentally cut off another limb. Like it's the worst. It's yeah. I think that things could have gone very wrong for Mega Man over the last 2 decades, but
30. It is 30 years
that's
of
true.
Mega
3
Man.
decades. Yeah. It's been awesome to see that this thing is still something viable and to find a new way in for somebody like me that's always loved it but always felt like it wasn't mine, you know?
Well, so 2 things. First, Sonic, the unfortunate problem with Sonic is that his whole origin is chasing trends.
Mm-hmm.
He was always there to chase trends.
True.
So, of course, a character who's built that way is going to try every single trend possible to stay ahead of the curve.
It's just so sad that as fast as he is, the one thing he can't catch up to is like fame.
Well, I mean, Sonic Mania, a lot of people really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I mean things have started to look like they could go better, but the problem with Sonic
is that they did Sonic Mania
Yeah.
and then 3 months later did Sonic Forces.
Right.
So any goodwill is instantly burned off.
Yeah, and that's what they always do with Sonic. The second there's any light, it gets just stomped out. Whereas, like with Mega Man, like you said, with like Mega Man 9, they started to go back to stuff, and there was some shit that people gave them, but they took their time and they cultivated that, and now here they are, and like people are in love again.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing about it is that it's only $30 for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were asking $60 for it, I think it would be a harder sell for a lot of people. So they did it right. They did Mega Man 11 right. And even though I have my gripe that I think Blockman was the wrong guy to focus on in the marketing, and the game is a little boring in some parts, it's still a good time. I've enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So
I got to talk Time Spinner because I promised.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Let's get into this thing.
It's going to be quick, and the fact that go play Time Spinner. I don't want to ruin it for you. It's it's so good. I can't believe how good the game is. I can't believe that I've played through it 4 times already, because that's how you get the platinum is you need to get 4 different endings, and one of them needs to be on nightmare mode. And the game, it's just such a rich game, but by the time you're playing it that last run, I did the game in about an hour. It's just you learn it. Symphony of the Night is the gold pinnacle of Metroidvania games. So this game is clearly just chasing that dragon.
Right.
But if you're looking for one that will kind of teach you how the game goes, this is it. Oh my God, Time Spinner was so good.
Nice.
I
very
really
cool.
enjoyed it. And it's exactly what I needed to reboot myself from I was not in a happy place when I downloaded Time Spinner. And now I feel like I am. And it's not just because of Mega Man 11 and Ninja Turtle toys and Venom, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I played Super Mario Party.
Yeah, I was get. You're not. That's not your.
No.
That's you're not the audience for that game, is what I. Yeah. I am the audience for that game. Do not worry. I will get a hold of it, and it will be
Oh, I
played.
mean, I went to a party and I played with people, but still, the
No,
best
no.
part is there's
First of all, parties aren't even your thing. Never mind Mario
that
parties.
hurts. That hurts. Ugh, there's the Devon's Gambit. Going to a party to try to have a good time. There's two. There's two same vocabularies. Why not? Because it's true. We actually had a good time at the party. But until we got challenge mode unlocked, that game was boring to Devon. But then at the end of the night, it's just me and the guy who's throwing the party playing through challenge mode, tossing the controller to each other after we cleared a challenge.
Nice.
That was fun. And
Cool.
I stayed there till 3 a.m. doing that.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So, I mean, there's some fun to be found in it, but it was...
Well,
it's
if we're going to talk about these in our last few moments here in this week's episode, I guess it's time for me to admit to you that I played a little bit of Spider-Man also.
Angels upon high have come down.
Yeah, a friend of mine down here has a copy of it, and so I was hanging out with him and his family this week, and I decided to play through the first little bit of it. Got through the Wilson Fisk fight. That's what I did. That's all I did. It was just that first 30, 40 minutes.
You know that once I released the Choir of Angels, I can't put it back in the fucking bottle. All you did was one fight.
Well, it's not just what there's also the whole swinging through the city, to give you that feeling too, which is pretty cool. And
I wasted my angel choir, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. The reason it didn't go on much longer is I was having some personal feelings about that game in the moment. It was just not. I don't know. Something was not clicking as much as I wanted it to, and so I need to step back for a second and really think about it. Was I having a worse time with it in that moment because it wasn't what I expected or wanted or needed, or you know what I mean? Was it me that was not enjoying myself? Because I got through the Wilson Fisk fight and I was just this is cool and I want to play more of this, but this is not something I want to dedicate my time to immediately. In the next couple, I am suddenly not so disappointed that I did not pick it up yet, if that makes sense. It's still something I want. It's just not something that I realize that I'm not mad I don't have at the moment. You know what I mean? So it went down just like a tick, just a notch in my excitement.
Dude, and I get that though. I mean, I've been preaching for at least a week that it is a rental at best.
Yeah, well, and part of it is also the fact that it was the opening fight, and I didn't have any of the fun stuff yet. That's something that I think is a really video gamey problem that is present in all of the Arkham games and all of these superhero games, all of these established character games where I go in as a character. Why in God's name do I need to unlock specific abilities that Batman should have known how to do the whole time? This is ridiculous. He is friggin' Batman. The idea that I didn't have a tool on me is stupid. I have a utility belt. I should have all of this sort of crap on me right now. There's a very, very broken reality there for me, when I have to learn how to do things that characters should know how to do the whole time. If it's a good video game, it makes up for that in ways. Maybe the storytelling is just good enough that I ignore it or can get past it. So that's why I don't give too much shit to things like the Arkham series for that sort of stuff. But it is present and it does piss me off. So a lot of what I was doing with Spider-Man is because they haven't taught me the move yet, or I don't have the right gadget yet, or the right upgrade yet, or whatever it is. I'm just kind of just rolling around and then whipping a couple of spider webs and then punching a dude. That's all these fights are right now. And that's not interesting yet. Yeah, I have a feeling.
Sejohn, my dear friend.
Part of it is the idea of the flow problem, right? A lot of that fight choreography in those games, in that game and in the Arkham games and stuff like that, is the idea of really getting into the groove of when you press the button.
I need to stop you.
Okay.
It doesn't get better. like countless Glee
I'm not
cast
saying
members
that.
have said the opposite of since their show premiered. It does not get better.
It's
Um,
not that but what I'm trying to say is it's not necessarily that that I'm wondering whether or not it's I need the game to improve, or if it's just that I need to improve my relationship with it. Like the idea of figuring out what buttons to press when. So for instance, if for me, it just made mental sense for me to keep pressing R1 in order to whip webs because that's like you're throwing a thing and that's a very it's a trigger button, so I think of it as a trigger to do that, but that's actually not the button you throw you press to throw webs, or I might be mixing that up. That
that
might
is
be
what
the
you do,
but
yeah.
like but it's that kind of disconnect in some of the fighting where like I kept hitting triangle thinking that was going to be the thing to block a move, but actually circle is the thing to block a move. It's like weird. Like there was just a disconnect for me where I was just hitting the wrong button. And I recognize that it was me just hitting the wrong button. I just have to learn the button. But the problem is that in the moment, in my first 40 minutes with that game, I intuitively want to press this button to do this thing and it's not doing that. And there are so many games where that happens and I love that. It impresses the hell out of me when I don't know really what the buttons are for this game, but the fact that intuitively I want to do this and it does that is beautiful. When a developer can figure out that that's what I'm going to do as a player, I love that moment. And it didn't feel like there was anything intuitive yet about about any of it, including the web slinging. I was having a real problem with the web slinging because there's a physics to the web slinging that I'm not used to yet. Like you actually have to kind of be aiming towards a building for him to sling to that building, and like you have to kind of deal with the fact that he's a pendulum on a string. That I like the physics of that I wasn't used to. You know, in the Arkham games with Batman, you just press the button and God knows he hooks to absolutely friggin' nothing. I don't know what the physics are on his bat hook shot. You know, like I don't know what it is, but and when he swings, it's just a basic straight line. There's no feeling of like left or right movement to his swing. He just goes, right? And like that's not the case. So part of that is just that it's designed in a very specific way to feel a very specific way. So maybe I just need to get used to that. I don't know. It just in the moment didn't love it. So there's some stuff going on that I'm not totally happy about, but some of that might just be that I just need to push through and really kind of feel the game out for what it is, not what I thought it was, or not what I want it to be, you know?
It does not get better.
Okay.
Because honestly, I was gonna like, yes, you have the skill tree and everything like that, but
Mhm.
even at the end of the game, when like I had unlocked things, I'm like, it is so unintuitive to do the thing that I just unlocked because the whole rest of the game has trained me to not want to do that in this moment. Dale, for her final boss fight, literally only jumped around, rolled around, and shot webs. That's all she did to beat the final boss. So, like, the complaints that you're saying, they make me sad for you because
Because
I
I
don't think
because I'm
you'll
already
ever
feeling them.
be able to cross the amazing valley that is Spider Man PS4. I almost called it an uncanny valley, but those are X-Men.
Oh boy. Yeah, nice. That was a nice joke, and I feel bad that I have to continue kind of crabbing on this game for a couple of
No,
moments
no,
after
it's
it.
completely fine. The spoiler
It's like,
friends already talked about it, so
yeah. No, I am excited to play the game still as a Spider-Man fan. I'm not nearly as excited as a video game fan as I was before. You know what I mean? The video gamer in me is just like, oh, this is going to be a slog in moments. You know it is. I'm just going to drop it down to the easiest difficulty just so I get to see all the cool Spider-Man stuff. Essentially, is what's going to happen, and that's disappointing because I, I've gushed about the Arkham series, and one of the things about it is that I love playing those games so much that I've actually been able to do Asylum and City on pretty high difficulty ratings. Not Night because it's a broken mess, but or Origins because I don't love that game. But like I've been able to do the highest settings on the games I want to, and I wanted this to be a game that I love so much that I was going to go through it a few times and then try it on its hardest setting. But I don't think that that's ever going to happen. So I'll probably play through it. I'll probably play through it more than once in my life. It's just not the kind of game that I'm just gonna like hold dearly, you know?
I do. I totally do. Like, cause that's the thing where, yeah, no, I get it, and it really like I don't mean to be that person to like to say that as soon as you said it, but as soon as you're registering your complaints after 40 minutes with the game, it would
Hmm.
be rude of me to not confirm that that's kind of what the game is the entire
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. No, I have that fear, and I have that the knowledge that that's a likely possibility, but maybe something will click for me. That's there's always a chance that something's going to catch me,
Right. I mean, once the story starts, maybe you'll become more invested because that's really like we joined Spider-Man in the middle of this.
as they always do with Spider-Man
Yeah.
stories, right? Yeah.
Right. Because it's the best way to do it because who knows?
I do. I do have to say, like, I love the animation. I think it looks gorgeous. I think that Peter Parker is really cool as a character. My one thing is that because of my having to redo a couple of moments, and because of my nature to explore like hell, getting a little sick real quick of Peter Parker's quips. Like, I get that he's a quippy character, and those need to be like a part of it, but he quips so much, so often, and like it kind of kills my mood of exploring because I just want to get through it to hear him shut up in a couple of moments. I was just like, all right, forget it. I'm done exploring these vents. I'm just dropping. Let's do this because I was just sick of listening to him make comments about how dark it was. I was like, all right. Like, so that sort of stuff is kind of killing me. But I think that Wilson Fisk was like a great design and like a great little like boss fight like for him as a character, not necessarily as a video game boss, but as a character, it made total sense. Like his whole brawling like moves that he's got. Yeah, just like the way that the only thing getting in the way of that video game is the fact that it's a video game.
Interesting. Interesting that you have the same issue with Spider-Man that I have with Arkham City.
Hmm.
And we will definitely explore it further once you've played more of the game.
Yeah.
So join us sometime in 2019 for that.
Funny.
No, it's true. It's just poignant and truthful. So I guess the last thing I want to say is I watched through Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 again.
Okay.
I love that show, but watching through it this time, I have to watch it in the intended order sometime because I have never watched it in the intended order. So
You
the
only ever watched it when
continuity
it aired?
here's the crazy thing, right? Netflix puts it up in air order. Hulu puts it up in air order. And it's like, why? Why, when we have the ability to know what was supposed to happen, did we not clean this up continuity-wise?
I'm surprised Netflix did. I'm not surprised with Hulu because the way that Hulu works is their agreements are not with necessarily the makers of the TV shows, but with the
network, yeah.
networks. So like they kind of are the slave to the network. If that's the airing order, that's the airing order. But like for instance, like if you go into Firefly on Netflix, I'm pretty sure the pilot is the pilot. I don't think that they shove it at the end like they did in the airing order. Part of that is because over the years, the people have gotten the rights, that the right hands have gotten the rights to that show, so they've been able to correct that in the subsequent releases, which is why Netflix is then able to put it up in the right way. So I'm surprised to hear that didn't happen, but maybe there's just not enough people out there in the right place that care about this show, to be honest, enough to do that.
Oh, there
you know
isn't.
what I mean?
Like, it would be me. Like there's the guy who put up the proper air order on IMDb, and there's me. And I don't know. It's just nice that when I met Eric Andre, and I'm like, dude, I've loved you since Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23. He hugged me. Like, that was a nice moment that I shared with Eric Andre.
Yeah, he seems like a chill dude anyway, but yeah, I'm sure that he appreciates anybody remembering that show, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's such an out of character type for him,
yeah, I think that, and I don't know, but it's a great show. Watch it on Hulu, but like I am promising you, before this time next year, I will have sat down, put them in proper order, and watched it that way. Because I want to experience it where like
I'm gonna watch through
stuff
character
feeds
by
into
character.
It stuff. No, I'm not gonna Arrested Development it. I'm not crazy. Oh, that might be fun. No, Devin, no. So many people were in that show who are in shows now, though. I love it. It's so much fun to watch. Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. Okay, so I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
Just one last comment on that. You talk about how there's a lot of people in that show that now are like established people in our pop culture, right? It reminds me a lot, honestly, of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
In that way in particular, though, like everybody you see on that show now, you're like, oh right, this dude is like huge now.
Except Two Guys and a Girl ran for 4 seasons, And we kind of got one season of Don't Trust the Bee. Like, because they gave you the 7 as like the mid-season replacement, and then they filled it out to 25 with 16 more episodes. Like, that's not correct math. 19 more episodes. I don't know. I can't do it. 18 is weird. It's weird that there's basically one season of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. And they
spread out over years.
Fucked up the continuity. Okay, so that's it. That's been our episode. If you'd like to yell at me about anything that I said, you can always find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And if you want to give me a boost in helping me getting into Spider-Man, like, shoot me a tweet over at Siege versus the World. Because, like I said, I do want to play that game. Give me some encouragement.
Also, if you want to boost anything for Hollow Watching 2018, I'm sure Sejohn would love to hear about that as well.
We all would. Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right. So until then, Will, take us to the next level.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.